What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here today for another deck profile, and this time, it's for Dragonmaid. So, new format, new Dragonmaid list. This is actually a branded Dragonmaid deck profile. So, it doesn't necessarily translate directly over to Master Duel if you are looking for like a Master Duel Dragonmaid list. However, it is pretty simple in the stuff that you can change when we do get to that. I'll just kind of go through it and explain it. But before we do get started, as always, please do remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people to the channel. And let's get on into this deck profile. Before we do get started on this one, though, it is brought to you, of course, by yourplaymat.com, who got us our beautiful NolanTCG extra deck sleeves. These are available on yourplaymat.com, as well as you can get custom sleeves and custom playmats, so whatever you need for the current format. There is an affiliate link in the description down below that does get you a little bit of a discount on your order. Also, enter the code NOLAN10YP. for 10% off your order. Also kicks back a little bit to the channel, so everything will be very much appreciated. If you're shopping there, you're getting custom sleeves, custom playmats down, make sure to enter our code at checkout. But let's get on into this deck profile. Okay, so starting us off for this deck profile, we of course start with our Dragonmaid line. Still the standard traditional Dragonmaid line. We have our 3 copies of Chamber, weirdly become super easy to access in the branded version of the deck. 3 copies of Parlor Dragonmaid, again, second best Dragonmaid. And then 1 kitchen, 1 nurse. These are the standard ratios that you should be playing in every Dragonmaid list that you play. I apologize for the light kind of issue going on over this side, but yeah, this standard Dragonmaid line, especially when you consider your bigs. So we've got 1 Tinnik, 1 Lorpa, 1 Urns. This is what you should be playing in every list. Regardless of your Dragonmaid list, this should be what you're basing your, essentially your Dragonmaid ratios on. Whether you're playing the Dragon Link build. Dragon Link build can maybe mess around with kitchen a little bit, or you're playing the control/hand trap build like I like to play. This is the standard ratio. There is no debating this. This is what you should be playing. Then we go into the rest of the deck, and because this is branded Dragonmaid, we do see 2 copies of Fallen of Albaz floating through here. Of course, you're super poorly on summon, but we really want to be using him from the deck with our branded fusions. Then we go into essentially our big dragon line before we get into our hand traps. So we've got 2 copies of Noctivision Dragon. You're essentially just using this to transition through on link plays, and you're also using it for Small World package. After that, we have 2 copies of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. This is a 42 card list. If you want to make it smaller, definitely cut 1 Phantasme. If you want to really cut down, you can go 1 Phantasme, 1 Nocto, or you can trim a hand trap to 1 over 2. But yeah, this is pretty standard. It gets you through your transitions for your Small World package again. Because weirdly, you can go like Phantasme, Ash Blossom, Chamber, I think is the line that you go down there, which is quite cute. It's pretty funny to go that way. And then after that, we get into our hand traps. So like I did mention just before, we do have our 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. We also have our 2 copies of Ghost Spell. Each of them serve the same utility. They get you to Chamber with the 1800 defense. They are also hand traps. Ghost Spell, quite good in the current format, can stop branded red. Cannot stop it when branded, when the continuous spell is up, so do keep that in mind. However, something that can stop it when the continuous spell is up, 2 copies of DD Crow. DD Crow, quite good right now. It's a dark again, so you can kind of use it as a bit of a transitional bit where you can go like DD Crow, loop into something else, and then get back to something that's significant if the DD Crow might be dead. You can use the Effect Veiler, weirdly, as well with that, so you can transition through this way. And then lastly, our final hand trap is 1 copy of Nibiru. Then we go into our spell and trap line after this. Of course, I should have mentioned it. We are playing Small World, like something that's pretty standard in Dragonmaid list now, which is why you see the wonky hand trap ratios, because you can kind of switch around with different hand traps and different hands to get you to the Dragonmaids that you need. Then, of course, we do get to the hand traps, like I was talking about. To the spell cards. We have our 3 copies of Dragonmaid Hospitality, still pretty standard. In this version of the deck, this card becomes very good, because if you have like a loose Dragonmaid that you can discard, like say you open 2 Dragonmaids and a branded fusion, you can like ditch one off the Libellion and then summon it back with a Hospitality, and you can go some pretty big boards with that hand, and that's pretty cracked. We do of course though have our 1 copy of Dragonmaid Changeover to finish off our Dragonmaid spell line, because we do want to get into the Dragonmaid fusions. Then after that we have our branded fusions, so we've got 3 copies of that. Of course, just dumping off your Fallen of Albaz and your Chamber Dragonmaid, you go into Libellion, and then kind of go from there. 3 copies of Small World coming through after that. General consistency card, tries to get you to your normal summons as quickly as you can. 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Like I mentioned before, this is a 42 card build. If you want to go budget, you can just cut this. I wouldn't switch it for an upstart just in case, but you can switch it for like another hand trap if you do want to really bring down the cost of this deck. And then after that, we have our 1 copy of Called by the Grave to stop those pesky hand traps. And now rounding out the main deck, we have our 3 copies of Dragonmaid Tiding. Just kind of generally good trap card. Okay, so now we have the extra deck. Now, something to keep in mind with the extra deck for this build when you're playing Branded, that will differ from if you're building this in Master Duel, is you can afford to play a bunch more Super Poly targets or the standard link package that I've shown off in my other videos. However, with Branded being involved in this deck, if that engine is in rotation, your Hermetic Seal of Heavenly Spheres can't be used. So that is a consideration that you need to make as to whether or not you want to go Branded line, or whether or not you can set up the standard like H Seal plus Tiding pass. If you want to go the double disruption that way, of course, if you can add a shoe onto that, that's always good, isn't it? But there are situations in this deck now where you can just go Shiu, Mirror Jade, Tiding set, and that's really good. Like, there's no doubting the fact that that's a really, really good setup. So in those situations, you don't need the Hermetic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. So that's just something to consider before we start going into this extra deck. Starting us off with the extra deck, of course, though, we do play our standard 3/3 package of the House of Dragonmaid Shiu and House Dragonmaid. We are playing the Prosperity, of course, like we discussed earlier in the main part of the portion, so you do typically just get rid of one of each off the Prosperity. Then for our Albion line, or our Albaz line, we have our 2 copies of Mirror Jade, 1 copy of Lebellion, 1 copy of Albion. I said it before by accident, and then I forgot what his name was. And then 1 Dragostapelia. Dragostapelia is your Super Poly target that you can summon in end phase. If you bin this off the Mirror Jade, then you can summon the Albaz and then go into that, and that's the way you kind of Super Poly that. You can also just normal summon an Albaz and then make this. It's just kind of your Albaz Poly target. So the reason why we play a 2 Mirror Jade ratio and 1 Lebellion is because typically on the first Lebellion summon, you're putting back the Lebellion and the Albaz. On your second Lebellion summon, so on the next turn you go Branded Fusion again, you can go into the Lebellion, and then Lebellion can put back, say if you have a dead house that you need to get back in your extra deck to keep recycling, say you've maybe prosped away, you can put that back for the Mirror Jade, and that is very, very good. It helps you recycle, and that's the reason why we're playing the 2 Mirror Jade, because you go into 1 on the first turn, and then you still want to have the second to go into later for when you're doing that exact situation. Then we do go to our link line after that. It is our 3 copies of Hermetic Seal still. Typically, again, like everything else, you prosper away 1. And then 1 copy of Striker Dragon, just because you sometimes need to clear off your normal summon, so you can reborn it back and go into your link plays. But that does bring us to the end for this deck profile. Like I said before, this deck can pop off pretty hard if you open up correct. I'm still a little torn, though, as to whether or not I would prefer the Branded build or the traditional build. It just kind of each sees its benefits. The Branded package does eat into a bit of the hand trap ratio that you can play, which does kind of mess around a little bit with what you want to be doing. But at the end of the day, it does add that consistency. It gets your chamber into graveyard, so if you have the reborn spell, you can go from there. If you have a nurse, you can go from there. It does open up so many more options and lines that you can look at. There's just a lot of interaction between the 2 packages, so there's no reason to not be playing it, especially considering the package that you're playing is in the structure decks. So you can just pick up 3, yeah, you need the 3 Branded Fusions. So 3 structure decks, add it into your Dragonmaid list, and it's definitely worth giving it a crack. But as always, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.